Did you know that kinky wellness is integral to your self-development? Hi, welcome to the Partition, home of kinky wellness, the ultimate destination to explore the integral connection between kinky wellness and your personal development. I'm your host and kinky wellness coach, Dana Schurgel, and I'm here to show why kinky sexual wellness deserves a rightful spot within the wellness conversation. Don't forget to join me each Monday as I bring on a special guest to dive into specific aspects of kinky wellness. So let's strip away the shame and taboo together and have an open conversation about it. Hey, and welcome back. In this episode of the Partition Podcast, I'm talking about the benefits of temperature play and how using hot and cold in the bedroom isn't just helpful for keeping things kinky, but also how hot and cold can aid our bodies in healing through restorative and therapeutic ways. To preface, temperature play is a form of sensory play and sexual exploration where different temperatures are intentionally applied to the body to create arousal, heightened sensitivity, and erotic sensations. And essentially, temperature play involves using hot or cold objects like toys, tools, or accessories, substances such as water that can be heated up or cooled down, or even different types of environments to stimulate the change in temperature against our skin, to bring forth various physical and emotional responses. But before I move on to the benefits of hot and cold, I want to remind you that playing with extreme levels of hot and cold, especially when fire is involved, brings on inherent risks and possible injuries such as burns or even frostbite, depending on what you are doing. But calm down, because once again, kinky wellness is here to remind us that we don't need to go to extremes to reap the benefits. But just because we are not going to the extreme doesn't mean that we get to skip out on bringing a certain level of maturity, responsibility, and accountability to whatever temperature play activity we are doing. The standard rule of kinky wellness will always apply regardless of what activity you are doing, which is always play ethically, consentingly, and responsibly. First and foremost, things to consider regardless of what end of the temperature scale you are playing with is use objects or substances that are specifically designed for temperature play, right? You don't want anything melting that shouldn't be or freezing anything that can crack and break in the process. You also want to prep your skin, meaning you may want to consider shaving, especially if you're playing with something like wax. You're also going to want to test the temperature on a less sensitive area of yourself if this is your first time, like on the palm of your hand. And depending on how that feels, then you can move to other areas of the body and, of course, go slow. Next, you're going to want to prepare your space. So you can think of the mood you're aiming to invoke, like hot and steamy or slow and sensual. But mostly you want to think about how you can create the safest possible place to play. So that means not having anything that can catch fire too close to you, like alcohol or aerosol cans or anything else that's flammable. And if you are using fire, make sure to keep some water nearby to put anything out if needed. Again, it's better to be safe than sorry, and you don't want to be calling the fire department. Next is remembering that it's your responsibility to communicate clearly with your partner about preferences and pain limits. So if at any point you start to get uncomfortable or something starts to become painful and not in a good way, you need to tell your partner immediately so they can stop or at least slow down. Remember, no one is a mind reader, so if you don't want to use stop or slow down, think of some safe words or nonverbal cues to indicate that you want something to slow down or to change or to stop. Temperature play is also a play where you really need to remain present and, dare I say, sober, even though some people out there say it's okay. But from my perspective, doing anything with temperature play while under the influence of anything will only interfere with your body's natural cues for pain tolerances, which makes it more difficult for you to know when you've actually reached your limit. So playing under the influence of anything with temperature play is a big no-no for me. Lastly, prep your aftercare routine and cleanup kits in advance as best you can. Because depending on what you're playing with, you may need more or less of some cleaning products, but don't stress too much because keeping the end in mind will certainly help you run your cleanup time more smoothly. Also, quick tip for your aftercare kit in regards for temperature play, have the opposite of what you're using packed. So if you're using heat, pack something tangible to cool the skin like aloe vera or unscented lotions. And if you're playing with something cold, well, pack something tangible to warm up the skin like a blanket or warming pack. But let's get to the benefits of why applying heat to our bodies is so good. And I'll give you some examples on how you can incorporate heat into your kinky wellness routine. Because ultimately, there's actually quite a lot of things that heat can help us with. Heat can aid muscle pains and stiffness, meaning if you're someone who experiences muscle spasms or body pains in general, or even arthritis, heat is a great way to relax those areas. This is because heat increases our blood flow and circulation, which then in turn also helps out with decreasing things like inflammation. And since heat can reduce stiffness, if you use it around areas like your joints, you can increase their flexibility and range of motion. Heat can also influence our mood. Of course, being too hot will most likely leave you feeling uncomfortable, like, oh, I hate this, I hate this. But warm sensations and environments can still be relaxing and comforting when you get that heat temperature that suits you. But let me give you a few examples of heat that you might think about exploring. Of course, there's heating lotions, but honestly, I am not a fan. I know that there's people out there that swear by the heated massage oils that warm up as you use them. But in my experience, it doesn't come close to the more natural ways of using heat, like in hot stones or wax, which I will get into in a minute. Plus, let's face it, a lot of those heated massage oils typically have a lot of chemicals in them that are not good for you in the long run. And you all know how the Partition feels about chemicals. So here's a couple of alternative methods of applying heat. We have hot stones and we have wax. Hot stones are exactly what they sound like and involves the use of small or medium or large smooth heated stones placed all over the body. And we really do not need to overcomplicate this. You can seriously just go on Amazon and buy a hot stone massage kit from anywhere between $40 to $300. So it all comes down to how much you want to spend and how many stones you want in your kit. But here are the hot stone basics. Stones range in size, but typically are smaller than the inner palm. And the most popular stones to use are basalt because they really retain heat, and they are a type of volcanic rock. Now, when it comes to heating stones, typically stones are heated to a specific temperature range that either ranges from the low 40 degrees to the higher mid 50 degrees Celsius. And if you're using Fahrenheit, then that range would be roughly around 110 to 130 degrees. Again, you can get a kit off Amazon to make it easy, and they typically have buttons and ranges and all sorts of stuff that's automated, or you can heat them in water on low in your oven. And when you're using it, if this is your first time, depending on your skin and pain tolerance, you can always place a sheet or a cover between your skin and the stones and allow the heat to come through on its own. And if you're confident that you can handle more heat, then feel free to remove the sheet and go from there. In terms of placement, there really isn't too many places that are off limits. Again, it all comes down to you, but some good spots are along your spine if you're laying on your stomach, or on your chest if you're laying face up. But other popular places are on your palms, on your feet, or between your toes. You can put them on your stomach, and if you can keep still, arrange them on your arms and legs. And really, if you're looking to maximize your time, try placing your stones strategically along the areas of your body that really need the most relaxing. This will not only improve your energy, it will also reduce your stress hormones. Of course, when it comes to hot stones and massages and things like this, there are licensed people out there who perform hot stone massages for a living. But to me, this isn't something that you always need to outsource. The Partition wants to give you the basics so you can reclaim your health into your own hands. But of course, if you again have any medical conditions like diabetes or cardiovascular issues or other skin sensitivities to heat and even cold, of course, go talk to your doctor, your naturopath, or your osteopath. Or simply go book a hot stone massage and see if this is something worth investing in. Also, for stones, you don't need to just leave them on you either. You and your partner can use the stones to massage each other and use a combination of long strokes or circular movements or tapping or kneading techniques. Again, the preference is up to you, so it's quite expansive. But something that I didn't know before about hot stone massages is that it can help detoxify your body. Because with the combination of the heat of the stones and the massage aspects, the whole thing stimulates our lymphatic system. And our lymphatic system is the system that eliminates toxins from our body and is super, super, super important to our overall general health. But if hot stones is not your thing, of course, we have the kinkier option, which is to use wax. Now, wax play is another form of temperature play that, of course, uses wax from a candle and is dripped onto someone's skin in order to induce a warming or even burning sensation, depending on how long or intense the session is. But the basics for wax play are to use candles that do not have any food coloring or fragrances, because that type of stuff can irritate your skin. So it's best to use candles that are made out of soy or paraffin because they also have a lower melting point. You're also going to need to pour or drip the wax at the right distance. Pouring too close can have the wax landing too hot, but pouring too far away can have you missing your target. You also need to remember that wax can splatter. So it can splatter back at you, it can splatter in your eye, it can splatter around you. So because it's hot and can splatter everywhere, in the spectrum of activities within kinky wellness and BDSM and kink in general, wax play kind of falls in the middle because if done wrong, wax play can cause some serious injuries. It can cause burns that can be severe enough for you to require legit medical attention. Partly why wax play is in the middle is because wax can also be super difficult to remove, especially if you didn't shave your hair. So you can keep a butter knife or a credit card or basically anything flat and thin that can be used to scrape the wax off if you need to, or just when you're done. Also, keep in mind candles can break mid-use. Some people may be allergic to certain types of wax. And of course, like I said, wax is super difficult to wash out of things. So if you are using a throwaway sheet, sometimes that is not enough because the wax can melt through certain types of linens and materials. Also, something else to consider is that wax can pool in areas of our body, like in our lower back or in our belly button. And when that happens, the heat becomes more concentrated. So you need to make sure that your wax strips and pores are even across the body. But hey, if neither of these options sound fun to you, you can always just try heating up or cooling down water, which leads me to the benefits of cold temperature. Cold has a lot of similar benefits like heat. Cold temperatures can help us reduce pain, swelling, and inflammation, and help with things like muscle recovery. So if you have something like a sprain or a strain or a bruise, you can use a cold pack for that. And you know, athletes commonly use ice baths or cold packs for exactly this reason. Cold can also help our mood by bringing us back to a more present state and leaving us feeling more refreshed. For example, you can take a cold shower or a cold bath, and even if it's not kinky, you can still do this first thing in the morning to jumpstart your system. Again, you don't need to be there long, but trust that just being in that coldness for a few minutes will be refreshing. And how you can incorporate cold temperatures into your routine on a more kinky side is that you can use cold objects or environments such as ice cubes, chilled metal, chilled glass objects, or making your partner wear things that maybe you put in the freezer. But when it comes to cold, get creative. Play with it. Hell, do both. Use both hot and cold during the same scene. For example, use that ice cube on your partner's lips and then follow up with a warm kiss or vice versa. Because alternating between hot and cold stimuli creates a very strong contrast that will only intensify the different nerve endings we all have. Because at the end of the day, using hot and cold isn't just about healing and it isn't just about playing, but it can be both. Playing with hot and cold can also create a new, exciting way to explore sensuality, intimacy, and arousal in a soft, warm way or in a hellfire burning desire way. Because that's the benefit of kinky wellness. It holds the space for you to experiment through all the levels of hot and cold sensations. But again, you don't have to go to extremes. And if you are someone who has health issues or skin issues, or even are unsure if temperature play is suited for you, reach out to your healthcare provider and at least go get checked if you have high blood pressure. But there you have it. Reasons why you should incorporate hot and cold into your kinky wellness routine. And if you want more content like this, be sure to subscribe to the Partition Home of Kinky Wellness YouTube channel to catch all the latest episodes. As for the next episode of the Partition Podcast, we are going to be joined by renowned health and fitness international speaker, best-selling author of 4 books, and founder of Yoga Fit, Beth Shaw. Fortunately for us, Beth will be here to discuss the concept of biohacking, from what biohacking is, goals of biohacking, affordable biohacking devices, natural supplements we can take to increase sexual health, and how we all can benefit from biohacking. Excitingly, we even touched on the impacts of electromagnetic fields, also known as EMFs. So this is not going to be an episode that you want to skip, so be sure to tune in for that. But that's it for me. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. And as always, stay kinky.